48th Street, Ocala, in the same blooming place since 1952.
Is the internet driving business to your business? Hi, I'm Michael Warren with Brick City Interactive. At Brick City, we've been putting the web to work for businesses since 1998. We want to help you too, whether you're a real estate office, law office, medical office, manufacturer, retailer, a church, even a radio station like WOCA. We love to help businesses grow, and we have the knowledge and experience to make it happen. We offer professional, affordable web design, mobile responsive websites, search engine optimization, social media marketing, web video and promotions, online advertising, and more. Whether it's time for a redesign or whether you want to kickstart your existing website, let us help. Mention WOCA and we'll give you a free, no-obligation search engine optimization report for your website. This free report will give you practical steps to increase your search ranking. It's our gift to you from Brick City Interactive. Call us today at 352-351-1131 or visit us online at brickcity.com.
Locally owned and operated since 1957. We are The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM.
All right, thank you. 5 minutes after 11 o'clock, and how are you anyway? When I was in school, Robin, I had a lesson in propaganda, and this is like elementary school, and I never forgot it, although it's not exactly what we're going to talk about, but I wanted to tell it to you. Okay. So in the example, my teacher said there were two men in a foot race, and one man was from the United States of America, and the other man was from the USSR. Remember we used to call Russia the USSR?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So the American came in first place. And the propaganda headlines in the Soviet Union said, Russian comes in second place, American comes in second to last. And the way we spin things in the media and in our personal lives, in our advertising, oh my gosh, you have to be very, very, very acute and focused in on the language of people to try to figure out maybe if there's something you need to read between the lines. Mm-hmm. What was the one I found in the book? Meat consultant, I think, was a good meat technologist was a butcher. I don't know if that's a real term or not. But
I love this.
We're going to find out. The book with all of this fun stuff in it and useful stuff is called Spin-glish, or you might want to pronounce it Spin-glish, the Definitive Dictionary of Deliberately Deceptive Language. It's written by Henry Beard and Christopher Cerf, and Christopher Cerf is on the phone waiting patiently. Thank you for waiting so long for us, Chris. Chris is, by the way, the founding contributor to National Lampoon. He's a songwriter for Sesame Street. I think we've had him on before.
We have, yes.
He's a co-creator and co-producer of the literary education television program Between the Lions. A very accomplished lyricist and composer. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Hi, Larry. It's great to be back. Hi, Robin, too.
Hi, good morning.
My gosh, it's been so long. Thank you for being on the air with us. I love this topic.
Oh, I do too, obviously, or I wouldn't have done a book about it.
But how long did it take you to find all these words? I don't even know that I never heard meat technologist or whatever it was called. I never heard that.
Well, that's an example of the kind of words that businesses are created to make people sound like they have important jobs, so they don't have to pay. They'd rather give you that title than actually pay you. But in any case, Henry Beard and I have been collecting language like this for years, and we realized there was so much of it that we might want to do an article about it. But then when we started looking for it in earnest, we discovered there were thousands of them. Yeah. So we decided to do the book.
Do you know, they call a footstool in front of your toilet a squatty potty. I didn't find that any...
Well, I'm not sure that's Spin-glish because it doesn't really hide what it is.
Oh, that's funny. Support our troops. There's a political one. It means support our policy. That's interesting.
Yes, well, support our wars, basically. But support our troops, who's going to argue with that?
Yeah. So when you go through, do you have to try to separate yourself from your own politics in order to decide which words and expressions you want to put in the book?
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't matter to us who said it, as long as it's deceptive, intentionally deceptive, it qualifies. Obviously, just coming straight out and saying something doesn't count. Donald Trump has been quite good at that. I mean, he just lies without even pretending to hide certain things. I mean, like, that's what alternative facts are. There's no such thing as an alternative fact. That's an oxymoron. If it's either true or false.
It's funny.
Nice.
So I thought that I might be suffering from HSDD, which stands for hypoactive sexual desire disorder.
Well, it sounds better than being a sex maniac, doesn't it? That's what it means.
But it means
Except it's a disease. It's a disease. It's not your fault. It's very much like if you go to if you go to a bar and have too much to drink, you're overserved. That means it's the bartender's fault.
There you go. That's exactly right. So how is it possible that a guy who thinks like you ever got along on Sesame Street? You must have had so many ideas that were just inappropriate. They couldn't use your ideas.
Well, that's true, but Sesame Street actually is a very funny show too, and a lot of people, believe it or not, who were involved with National Lampoon, as I was, ended up working on Sesame Street too. Though of course we didn't write exactly the same kind of thing for both, but satire and parody is very much a part of Sesame Street. The Muppets make fun of things all the time. But the real point on Sesame was we couldn't let the kids not get things. If we wanted to do a parody of the Beatles, the song had to work for the kids who didn't know it was a parody of the Beatles. But if the parents knew, then they'd enjoy it more.
Yeah.
So they would watch with their kids.
Which is probably a testament to the success of that show, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we did all that.
Have any of your words and definitions been used in court by defense attorneys?
Well, you mean in which case? From Spin-glish, you mean, or from?
Yes.
I'm a little confused now.
Oh,
yeah.
from Spin-glish. Say, like, two people were having an argument and it got heated, and they used some of the words that you have outlined in your book as the definitions, and then they had to go to court, and has the defense attorney had to defend their client using your words and your definition?
Well, I don't know specifically if they have, but it would be very useful in court. And as we were saying earlier, Robin, every single word in this book we found. We didn't make any of them up. So I could imagine you could say that something was an incomplete success in a courtroom, which means it was a total failure, but it makes your client look great, so that kind of thing. And certainly when you say, with all due respect, which of course gets said in courtrooms, that's basically means an unprintable four-letter word to you.
All right, so now I'm just picking words out at random from the book, and maybe it'll give us some talking points. But one of them is liquid soap. Now, on first look, I think, well, I know what liquid soap is. Why is that a Spin-glish word? But explain what it is in the book.
Liquid soap? I don't remember that one, Larry. I hate to confess. I'm sorry.
I think, you can't know everyone. Okay, it says here, liquid soap, a code phrase used by baseball player Alex Rodriguez and his drug supplier to describe testosterone lozenges.
Yes, I can't remember all the ones Alex Rodriguez used because he had all kinds of code words for that. But of course, a similar word with a different meaning is evaporated cane juice. You'll see evaporated cane juice on lists of ingredients on packages, and that sounds very healthy, but it actually means sugar. That's all.
Yeah.
But, food manufacturers don't want to say there's lots of sugar in their product because you might not buy it. But why wouldn't you buy evaporated cane juice?
It just seems that Sean Spicer draws on your Spin-glish from time to time.
He's quite brilliant at it. But of course, the whole administration has been doing that. For example, an interesting term from the administration recently was strategic patience. They blamed Obama for having strategic patience in dealing with North Korea. I guess it means not having strategic patience means bombing somebody, but
Yeah, strategic
so
patience.
being able to resist that is strategic patience, a bad thing.
But sometimes you have to use the main phrase, like Sean Spicer substituted the word death camps for Holocaust centers, and Holocaust centers seems more nice than the word death camps.
Well, it does, but it's so nice that it completely loses the meaning of the term.
Exactly.
I don't think that 6 million or the descendants of 6 million people who got killed in Holocaust centers would like that term very much.
No, not at all.
Does the English language adapt words and expressions like the words and expressions in Spin-glish over time as real and usable words? I mean, do they sound funny to us today, but maybe in 50 or 100 years that's going to be commonly spoken expressions?
Well, that's really true. That happens all the time. And in fact, we have to keep coming up with new Spin-glish because the old Spin-glish doesn't work anymore. A very good example of that was with torture. They began to call that techniques or abuse, and then those words became bad, so they began to abbreviate them.
Right.
Or similarly, battle fatigue. Now that's become a syndrome, and then they abbreviate the syndrome, and eventually, that you need a new word because the old one doesn't work anymore.
But in that particular case, is it possible that's just a better understanding of what happens to a person when they're experiencing trauma?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But shell shock was the original term they used to use.
Right.
And that kind of blames the soldier. There's nothing wrong with talking about post syndrome.
Yeah.
But it's still, once you abbreviate it, kind of loses the fact that it comes from what anybody would go through if people were shooting at them and throwing grenades at them for every day for a few years.
Here's a new.
You lose the meaning of the word, which is the intention of this language.
It's hard to believe that the George Washington Bridge episode in New Jersey was 4 years ago already, almost. But you have traffic study in here, a phrase used by aides in New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's office in a failed attempt to cover up the real reason that they had ordered 2 lanes on the approach road to the George Washington Bridge. How is it possible that he didn't get in trouble for that? How is it possible that his aides...
Well, he did get it. He did get in trouble in a way. Well, his aides ended up convicted.
Right.
but he kind of got away. Well, he kind of got away with it, but his political star sunk a bit. I mean, you don't hear it. He was considered a top-notch presidential candidate when that was all starting.
I think the word fired is one of my favorites in this book because you say raising the bar on talent, and I just love that phrase.
Well, actually, death and being fired are the 2 terms that we found the most Spin-glish substitutes for. My favorite one, I think, for firing somebody is involuntarily leisuring them. Or I could tell you that I'm giving you a career change opportunity. Doesn't that sound good?
Oh, yeah. Now
Yeah.
No promotion. You're out the door.
Of course, if you get fired, you can just say you're embarking on a journey of self-discovery, which sounds a lot better than you're unemployed,
Do you think teachers are going to incorporate your book into teaching the children from elementary school on up using different phrases?
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Well, I doubt that they'll use this in elementary school, but I think in high school or college it might be useful. And of course, we're having a good time with this, but it is kind of have a serious purpose. It sort of does, because you really do need to catch some of these terms yourself, or people will put things over on you, not just in politics, but in marketing. For example, you might hear that you have to pay extra for your hospital room because it's a semi-private room. Well, semi means not at all. I mean, a semi-private room could have 6 other patients in it.
Oh my!
You know, or virtually is another term. Like they say, this product will get your dishes virtually spotless. Virtually spotless means it still has a few spots on them. You know.
Right, exactly. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, virtually.
So we have to pay attention to the commercials now that are coming out.
Oh, always. So they say that it's up to 50%, means it could be 2% except for one product. That's 49. None of them are 50, you know, or maybe one is 50.
I wonder if weathermen are going to take you up on your new language.
Well, they do kind of hedge their bets on from time to time.
One of the new words that we had at the beginning of the year was Spanglish. Not Spanglish. I'm sorry. I'm looking at you cover your book. It was hangry. The word hangry. When you're hungry to the point that you're starting to become angry.
I hadn't heard that. So that isn't so much, that's a neologism, but it's not so much Spin-glish, because it's not really hiding anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But a really good example of a new one this year was reaccommodate. Remember, that's what United Airlines said when they beat up a passenger almost to unconsciousness, put him in the hospital, and then said they were reaccommodating him. So,
That's right. But sometimes the words, like you said earlier, make things seem better than what they are. Like outdoor citizen, you deem a homeless person.
Well, would you rather? Yes, exactly. Would you rather be called a bum or an outdoor citizen? You know, or a less motivated member of society, perhaps.
Kim Jong-il is the guardian deity of the planet. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's North Korean spin. That's a whole other matter.
Yeah.
Just they have 1,000 different ways of saying that their dear leader is their dear leader.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what the Nazis did with Hitler, though? Wasn't he a deity in their world?
Well, I'm not sure that he was quite a deity, but
I mean, they said he was.
He was equivalent. Yes, absolutely. But the North Koreans have made a real art of that.
Oh, here's one I like. Sandwich artist. I see this all the time, sandwich artist.
Yeah. Well, that's another example of making you feel like you have a great job even though you have less than minimum wage and no benefits. You know, you're a sandwich artist.
But then you have hands-on mentoring.
Well, that's one of my very favorites. That's having sex with the junior employee. You know, that term became fashionable during Bill Clinton's reign, actually.
Oh, no.
It did. We didn't make it up.
Oh, gee. Most of these you have made up, you and Henry?
No, we didn't make up any of them. That's the point. We didn't make any of them up.
So I live in a mobile home. I live in a mobile home. I live in a mobile home. And when I was a kid, we would call that a trailer. Which is the correct?
Right.
What do I live in? What's the new thing? What should I say?
Well, doesn't a mobile home sound a little better than a trailer?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the point.
I got one.
But that's a good example of what we're talking about earlier. Everybody knows a mobile home is a trailer now, so we're going to have to find some new term for that.
Right, but I have another one. I don't know if you thought of this one, because I really do live in a mobile home, and I pay lot rent. Okay, and so now now the term is unit. I no longer pay lot rent. I pay unit rent.
Well, yeah. Good for you. I'm impressed.
Oh, my gosh.
One of the sad ones is death with dignity.
Yes. Well, if they don't want to say euthanasia, so that's a better way of saying it, I guess. But there are a lot of amazing terms for you know, people who are basically morticians. A nice one is an after death care specialist.
Oh, I like that one.
Oh my gosh!
But that one I like.
Care specialist.
Or a post-life care specialist.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Wow. Are these? I mean, do you think the same phenomenon is happening in other languages? And has it always happened? Have we always done this as human beings?
We have tended to do it, but it used to be mainly in politics. I mean, Julius Caesar 2,000 years ago, wrote about pacification of Gaul, and he wasn't making Gaul peaceful unless killing everybody there made it peaceful. So he made that up 2,000 years ago, but we used it during the Vietnam War a lot. When they talked about destroying villages in order to save them, that was pacification. So, yes, we've done it all the time, but it never got into marketing and politics and business. And, for example, if you're goofing off at work now, you can say you're zero tasking. Nobody said stuff like that 2,000 years ago, I don't think.
Yeah. I wonder when we started calling drugs meds. When people say, "Have you taken your meds?" We used to say, "Have you taken your drugs?"
Right.
Yeah, but drugs got a kind of bad connotation because of well, you know why.
Yeah. Because there were drugs and there were meds.
Yeah, that's right.
Are your words easily translatable to people that are not familiar with the English language? Will it make the same impact?
Well, I think, people in other languages do this, but one of the things that's kind of interesting is English is really made up of two kinds of languages. The Anglo-Saxon English words, which tend to sound tough, like kill or murder, and the Latinate words sound, a little softer and more academic. So you should probably use a Latin phrase if you're trying to cover something up, and if you want to be really blunt, you use kind of an English Anglo-Saxon phrase. Many languages don't have that option, so English is particularly good for Spin-glish.
Oh, okay. Nice.
For spin.
Do you know what I heard Dana say? Dana's one of the talk show hosts on the station. She's a syndicated lady, and she says the male copulatory organ when she's.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know if that's
rather nice.
I never heard that before. I was thinking, wow, I should use that somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to use that.
Well, I'll tell you where you can. Mark Sanford, the former governor of South Carolina, who's in the House now, when he was, you might remember the hiking the Appalachian Trail episode when he disappeared and it turned out he'd actually gone to Argentina with his mistress instead of, so he used hiking the Appalachian Trail, which is a famous phrase for copulation. But another one that he used at that same time was he said what he had been doing in Argentina when he got caught was having incredibly intense conversations. So that's a good way to use your male copulatory organ if you need to.
Yes. What a fun book. I think anybody who gets this book is just going to have a good time and use these words and probably I can imagine bringing this like to the cafeteria with you at school if you're in college, whatever. The book is called Spin-glish. It's written by Henry Beard and Christopher Cerf. Christopher is our guest right now. It's a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I think that's made up, right?
Pulitzer.
Well, if you don't look closely, it's very much like the Pulitzer Prize. I guess we could be forgiven for hoping you don't notice the difference.
That's funny. Got a big long nose. I have a copy of the book. If you would like the book, call me. The rest of us have to go buy it. Christopher, send us to a good place. I found it on Amazon, by the way. Let me tell you what I found. I found that you've got 26 reviews and 4.7 stars, so that's pretty good.
Well, we're pretty pleased with that. Of course, we're trying to find the person who gave us 2 stars and ruined our perfect 5.
Yes. I see that person.
Authors are insane about Amazon. I mean, you check your ranking all the time,
Oh, that's not I just clicked on it. That's not a fair 2-star rating because this is what he wrote, not what I expected. Well, hello.
Yeah, right.
Right. Well, no, this is really true. Authors remember every bad review they ever got. And you just can't help it. You remember somebody who gave you a bad review 40 years ago.
Yeah, I know. But I've seen reviews on here. What they get 5. They give them 1 star. Said the book was great, but it took 5 days for me to get it, and so I gave it 1 star. Hello.
Yeah, I know. Well, of course, a really great piece of Spin-glish from Donald Trump recently, or from the Trump organization, was when they said, with a few exceptions, he had no dealings with Russia, and that phrase with a few exceptions is really good. Like we say that with a few exceptions, Spin-glish is the best-selling book of the last 5 years.
Oh my gosh! Let me give this one away, and then well, I guess we'll have to wrap it up. Come on, you've got the book. Who's this?
This is Jim.
Jim, you've got it. It'll be waiting for you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Here. I think he'll have a good time with that book. Chris, do you have a website for Spin-glish?
We didn't, but we can. It's Spin-glish.com. It has a hyphen, STIN-GLISH.com, just to confuse people, because the title of the book does not. So we just thought it would be useful to get everybody mixed up, and it's sort of the kind of thing our publishers do. Yeah.
Okay, Spin-glish.com, but put a hyphen between the first 4 letters and the last 5 letters, and then you should be there.
And then .com, and you'll find our website. Or you can go right to Amazon and leave the hyphen out.
Yeah, there you go. I found it. I found it both ways.
Is that clear? Yeah.
There it is.
Well, I'm going to Netflix Sesame Street so I can hear some of your songs that you've done, because you're absolutely marvelous.
I'm sure that's what we talked about the first time you were on.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Chris, thank you so much for being on the air with us. That was a lot of fun. Have a great.
Oh, I had fun too.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3
Fox News
FM,
Radio,
The
I'm
Source.
Pat O'Neill. A bit of a setback on the hiring front. 138,000 new jobs created last month, about 50,000 fewer than expected. Gains came in healthcare, construction, and food services, but
manufacturing down 1,000, with a drop in durable manufacturing of vehicles and motor parts. Retail trade down 6,000. The government was down 9,000 jobs.
Fox Business Network's Adam Shapiro, still the jobless rate slipped to a 16-year low. Vice President Mike Pence says President Trump's move to abandon the global climate change accord puts our economy first, calling it refreshing, but also tells Fox and Friends.
You also heard him leave the door open to renegotiating a better arrangement, to maybe re-entering the Paris Accord under new terms and new conditions.
Top European officials today reaffirming their support of the climate pact. Fox News, we report, you decide.
My number 2 does not look like a number 2. I don't know what to call it. Is there a number 3?
Table for 4, please. Anything close to the restroom.
A middle seat with these stomach problems? That's my fear of flying.
Sound like you? If it does, you could be one of the many people with a digestive condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. Even if you don't know what EPI is, you might know the symptoms: frequent diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain. If you have even just one of these symptoms, you could still have EPI, because not everybody experiences EPI the same way, which is why it's so important to open up to your doctor about all your symptoms. And the good news is, EPI is manageable, so don't keep a lid on it. Go to identifyepi.com, complete the symptom checker, and use it to have a conversation with your doctor. Don't keep a lid on it. Visit identifyepi.com. Brought to you by AbbVie.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front-end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, @yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
Here are today's headlines from The Source. WOCA Florida will become the first state to issue what is essentially a birth certificate to women who've had miscarriages. Governor Rick Scott signed a bill Wednesday that will allow the state to start issuing certificates of non-viable birth beginning July 1st. Under the Grieving Families Act, the state will issue these certificates only if parents request them. It would be available to women whose pregnancies end after 9 weeks and before 20 weeks of gestation. Pregnancies that end at 20 weeks or later are considered stillbirths, and death certificates must be issued. Parents also may request a birth certificate in such cases. Parents would be able to name the lost fetus on a new certificate. These certificates will contain language that they are not to be used as proof of a live birth. Some pro-choice groups criticized the law, questioning whether the act is an attempt to define when life begins, according to CBS affiliate WTSP-TV. Lawmakers supporting the measure said the law was meant to give parents the ability to acknowledge their unborn baby and insisted it was non-political. The Florida Highway Patrol is reporting that a 56-year-old woman died from injuries sustained in a motor vehicle accident involving 4 vehicles on State Road 200 yesterday. The woman is identified in the report as Donna Ann Colombo. The report indicates Colombo may have had a medical issue prior to the accident. The report states Colombo was driving a 2005 GMC Cannon pickup truck and crashed into the rear end of a 2005 Honda Civic, stopped at a traffic light at the intersection of Southwest 60th Street. The pickup truck Colombo was driving continued moving forward and then crashed into a 2014 Toyota Camry, which was also stopped for the traffic light. The 4th vehicle was a 2005 Chevy Avalanche, which was also hit by the pickup truck. Colombo's vehicle came to rest on the median. She was taken to Ocala Regional Medical Center, where she was pronounced deceased. The drivers of the other vehicles are 62-year-old Rhonda K. Poirier of Floral City in the Honda, 51-year-old Luz Rivera Arroyo of Dunellen in the Toyota, and 50-year-old Damaris Otero Matos of Ocala in the Chevy. They were all listed with minor injuries. Enterprise Florida's executive board yesterday discussed ways the agency could do more with less as the Economic Development Partnership braces for a 23% budget cut that Governor Rick Scott has rallied against. The $16 million that Enterprise Florida could receive from the $83 billion budget under review by Scott would mean cuts in marketing the state. Board member Eric Szilagyi says the state has stopped paying for TV commercials. Instead, the Enterprise Florida marketing team is launching web campaigns, according to Szilagyi, who also is the president and CEO of Florida Power and Light. Lawmakers also cut $180 million in 21 corporate incentive programs Enterprise Florida uses to lure companies to the state. Those programs were considered tools the agency used while competing with other states for business, according to Enterprise Florida Board Vice Chairman Stan Connolly, president of Gulf Power. Chief Operating Officer Scott Fennell said the agency was close to finding office space for a cheaper Orlando headquarters office. The agency now occupies an entire floor of an Orlando high-rise. The move could save the agency up to $2 million in rent. And there was no jackpot winner in Wednesday's Powerball drawing. The top prize has reached $337 million. The next drawing is tomorrow night. The jackpot has rolled over 17 times since April, when someone in Arizona hit a $60 million jackpot. The chances of winning the big prize are about 1 in 292.2 million, according to Powerball's website. If that doesn't discourage you, make sure you buy your ticket before the 10 p.m. Eastern Time cutoff time. Powerball is played in 44 states, Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands, as well as Puerto Rico. And those are the headlines from The Source, WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Not as warm today, with a fair amount of clouds and a heavy thunderstorm or two in the afternoon. The high 82 to 85. Still some showers and thunderstorms tonight. Heaviest early. Low 69 to 73. Drenching afternoon thunderstorms continue tomorrow with high of 81 to 85. We'll still have some showers and drenching thunderstorms into Sunday. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
It's time for Farm Ranch headlines on the Southeast AgNet. I'm Tyron Spearman reporting. Chris Balcom, the Auburn University Agri-Programs Associate, is reporting on peanuts, says that the crop is up and off to a good start. Scout around, he said, for those early season weed escapes and clean those up while the weeds are small and easy to control. Another recommendation, he said, is to begin your fungicide program. Disease control in peanuts is one of the most expensive input costs, he said. Most everyone wants to make the highest yield and save money by reducing the number of sprays. He said, my advice is to start spraying peanuts for leaf spot when the crop is 35 to 40 days old. You don't want to get behind and spend more money trying to play catch-up while still suffering yield losses at the end. Get the fungicides on the plants, he said, before disease gets established and with the recommendation rate and volume of spray for good canopy coverage. There are many times that you are able to delay spraying later in the season that will wind up saving you a trip across the field.
When white mold is coming, you can feel it, like a bad omen. Anyone who grows peanuts knows white mold can take a farm by storm. And there's only so much you can do about it.
Actually, no.
Excuse me?
Well, you see, now there's Elatus, the fungicide with 2 powerful active ingredients that control white mold.
I'm not buying you.
If you want higher yields, you will. Because along with white mold, Elatus controls several other diseases, which means healthier plants and higher yield potential.
You don't say.
I do. In fact, trials have shown it can produce up to 800 more pounds of peanuts per acre than competitors.
You talk like you're full of tall tales.
More like scientific research. With such long-lasting control, Elatus really can bring yields that reach for the sky.
So when white mold is coming,
we'll be fully prepared. Visit syngentaus.com/Elatus to learn more. Always read and follow label instructions.
I'm Tyron Spearman for Southeast AgNet.
I'm a deputy.
I'm an artist.
I'm a bookworm.
We are blood donors.
No matter what defines you, being a blood donor with Life South makes you a local lifesaver. When you donate with Life South, your blood stays in your community to help patients in local hospitals. Make being a blood donor part of your identity. Be a local lifesaver. Donate blood with Life South today. Visit lifesouth.org for locations.
On this episode of What Not to Do, brought to you by
Mike Scott Plumbing. If water runs through it, we do it.
Holy what have you done in my kitchen?
Oh, honey, how is it? I never know when she's coming home.
What are all these pipes laying around? Why is my dishwasher in the living room, and why is the carpet all wet?
Well, remember that fancy new kitchen remodel you've always wanted?
Oh, I do, and this is not it.
But I thought I might save some money by doing it myself.
You thought wrong. I promise this is going to cost you way more. You should have called in the professionals at Mike Scott Plumbing, because I'm pretty sure when I flush the toilet, water is not supposed to come out of the sink.
Noticed that, did you?
The next thing I'm going to notice is you calling Mike Scott Plumbing like you should have done in the first place.
Yes, dear. 866-314-4443.
Yes, 866-314-4443.
That played out so differently in my head.
On next week's episode of What Not to Do.
No, not monkeys.
Hi, this is Vanessa Lane Jennings with the Jennings Law Firm, located here in beautiful Ocala. Join me every single Friday at 10:30 for Legal Lane. We'll be discussing various legal topics such as family law, criminal law, contracts, and much more. So this is your chance to call in with your legal questions and have them answered. That's every Friday, 10:30, right here, WOCA The Source.
Next generation.